Following Robinson's initial appearance in court today, we did speak with a body language expert who has been part of hundreds of high-profile criminal cases across the globe.
And some of the most compelling cases include Brian Kohberger, Lori Vallow Daybell, Casey Anthony, Karen Reed and Alec Baldwin, Scott Peterson, P. Diddy, Gypsy Rose Blanchard, Amber Heard, Prince Andrew, Nicholas Rossi, to prolific serial killers, Ted Bundy, John Wayne Gacy. Tonight, Chief Investigative Reporter Wendy Halloran talked to Scott Rouse, who helped break down Tyler Robinson's body language. Wendy.
Well, Jamie and Mark, Scott Rouse dissected the nonverbal cues, analyzing gestures, expressions, and demeanor after Robinson learned prosecutors will seek the death penalty against him in the assassination of Charlie Kirk.
Tyler James Robinson.
Thank you for being here, Mr. Robinson. I'm Judge Graff.
Tyler Robinson appearing virtually from the Utah County Jail in a suicide robe.
It's really odd behavior for someone who should be stressed in that situation.
Scott Rouse is a world-renowned behavior analyst and body language expert. He holds multiple certificates in advanced interrogation training and has trained alongside the FBI, Secret Service, U.S. military intelligence, and the Department of Defense. He serves as an expert consultant for law enforcement and the U.S. military, among others.
I'm going to tell you from my experience what I see going on here.
I asked him to analyze Robinson's demeanor.
No big, deep breaths. We saw a couple of breaths that weren't deep breaths, but they were breaths from it looked like they were almost from boredom. So that was a little bit odd as well.
Rouse says when he looks at people in situations like this,
things like this, I look for the things that are missing, and those are all the things that are missing right out of the gate. And this is odd behavior for someone who theoretically should be fairly stressed at this point.
Rouse says it could be that he hasn't slept much.
Even though it doesn't look like a whole lot going on there, that's odd behavior for a situation like this. I've seen these 1,000 times where someone is being in the same situation, and you're talking to them, and they've done something horrible. And they don't know what's going to happen next. They don't know what to expect. They don't know how to act during that. And this guy just looks relaxed.
Rouse recounted what facial expressions he would look for.
And you've got things called adapters where you try to get rid of built-up stress and tension. Don't see any of those. We see a little bit of clenching of the jaw, and his jaw goes over to his left. I think it's his left. And that's about it. In my opinion, he's pretty much resigned to whatever's going to happen is going to happen. There's nothing that tells us he's frustrated. There's nothing in his face from an expression perspective that tells us that he's worried or frustrated or angry or anything.
Rouse says there were no jerky, tense body movements, and he meticulously watched his eyes.
We can't see his blink rate very well. The blink rate tells us if someone is concerned or thinking about something or is stressed about something, because your blink rate goes up a lot. Because the normal human will blink about 15, 20 times a minute. And from what I could tell, it was a low blink rate because I was catching maybe 10 times a minute. It wasn't a whole lot. So I think from an emotional standpoint, he's given up.
Now, Rouse said if Robinson was concerned about something, his eyebrows would raise. He says he didn't see that happen at all in this hearing. Mark?
All right, Andrew.
I grabbed my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Roommate, you weren't the one who did it, right? Robinson, I'm sorry.
7 counts were officially filed against the man accused of killing Charlie Kirk, including aggravated murder. Tonight, we get a sense of the evidence prosecutors are poring over, including what authorities claim are text exchanges between Tyler Robinson and a roommate. U.S. Attorney John Fishwick joining us. A lot to unpack tonight, John. What about that alleged admission of guilt in a chat? Could that be an attempt for the suspect to utilize the admission as a plea to avoid the death penalty, which, as you know, is on the table?
Dee, I think it'll be uphill for his legal team to get the death penalty off the table. In those chats with his roommate and when he talked to his parents and when he wrote the note, there's no real remorse. There's no I'm sorry. There's no asking for forgiveness for assassinating Charlie Kirk. It's pretty clear he's just admitting to it. So I don't think that would garner much sympathy with the jury who's deciding whether he should get the death penalty or not. In fact, I think it may hurt his case and make it much more uphill for his legal team.
That's interesting. Utah's governor and the president had been calling for the death penalty even before a suspect was identified. You remember the intense manhunt. Robinson's arrest was facilitated by his father, seemingly with the knowledge, John, the death penalty would be on the table. What impact could that have on the case? Do you see a scenario where the mother and father could perhaps testify against their son?
TD, I fully expect them to testify at the trial. I'm sure it'll be very emotional testimony. I'm sure they didn't want to be put in this difficult position, but nonetheless, they were by their son. And so he told them he did it. He basically admitted it to them. They know that that gun is a family gun, and they'll be able to identify on the video, yes, that's our son. Who's up there on the roof, jumping off the roof and coming into the building. So I'm sure they don't want to testify, but they'll be subpoenaed. They'll have to tell the truth. And I fully expect them to be very emotional, very impactful testimony at the trial.
Admitting to guilt in messages, in chats, does that hold the same weight? Does that count in the same way a suspect admitting guilt in front of prosecutors, in front of law enforcement?
I think it may carry even more weight with the jury. After all, he's very close with his roommate, obviously very close with his parents, or at least has been at some point in his life. Presumably, if you're going to admit to a crime to some people you're very close to, I think a jury's going to think you're telling the truth. So I think it'll be very powerful testimony when they bring that out, that he's admitted to this on a number of occasions to assassinating Charlie Kirk.
I mentioned the president a few moments ago. What could federal charges achieve that state charges couldn't?
Well, the state is going for the death penalty, and I think they have a really strong chance of having that to be successful. I think the feds are scouring all the social media and interviewing a lot of witnesses who were in the defendant's orbit. They're looking to see, did he target Charlie Kirk because of his religion? And that can be a federal crime if you target somebody for their religion. It can also be a federal crime if you target somebody for their First Amendment, for asserting their First Amendment rights and be strong on that right. So it can also be a targeting crime in that regard. And that crime for targeting somebody for the First Amendment carries the death penalty. I think they're also looking, like the Maggione case, did this defendant track and stalk Charlie Kirk? And that can be a federal crime as well. So I think they're combing all of his social media, interviewing many witnesses, but I fully expect the feds to bring charges against him. This is a very serious case that obviously impacted DOJ and the president in a big way. So I fully expect them to bring charges.
And it is to be seen if there are more suspects. The DA, I remember saying earlier that law enforcement is following up with any potential leads. So we'll see on that. Former U.S. Attorney John Fishwick, as always, thank you for your time.
Thank you.